Smarter Markets is back at the FT Commodity Summit in Lausanne. We're here with Sacha Lifschitz, Head of Battery Materials at Abaxx Exchange and Clearinghouse.
Nice to be here.
Good to have you here, Sacha.
Thanks for having me.
I was curious, how's the conference been so far? What are you talking about?
It's been good. In contrary to last year, there's a lot more energy people and less battery materials people, I have to admit. But it's good, catching up with old friends, meeting some new people. It's been good so far.
That's great. And I hear lots of conversations around lithium. Are you hearing the same?
Yeah, listen, it's talk of the town, hopefully. We've launched our contract 2.5 weeks ago, and people know that it's out there, and we're drumming up the interest to get people trading the contract, and it's going well so far.
Yeah, and one of the nice things about the FT conference here in Lausanne is that you get a lot of folks from the trading community, the merchant trading community. Just curious, what are you hearing? When you talk with people about lithium, nickel sulfate, where's the state of the conversation in the market?
Look, it's quite a depressed market. I think that doesn't come to anybody's surprise. And the market sentiment, and maybe that's also one of the reasons why not too many people are here compared with last year's on the metal side. So it's a bit of a downbeat market, but I think, the trading will always happen, sometimes a bit more short, sometimes a bit more longs. But the interest is clearly there. And as we are creating a contract that doesn't exist and will also help the industry, to find better, smarter price points for the product, it's good. Just one of the discussions I've had today with one of the lithium projects, which are actually only in the financing phase right now and going to start producing in a few years' time. They're very interested in that because they clearly see the value of launching such a contract and having tools on hand for risk management, longer dated forward curves and price fixing. And when the market is in the state like it is today, very depressed, there's even more interest from the community, to price risk manage those products.
And one of the areas that hasn't been as depressed is copper. People seem quite bullish on that, but also when you look around the world, regional spreads are much bigger than they've been. Obviously, potential tariffs. How are you sizing up, what you're seeing in the copper market and the role of tariffs? How are they affecting battery materials?
Look, I think they're already affecting on the copper spread. I think that's the most prominent you see in the current market. Copper spread has gone from $400 to $1,400 basically in a month, and maybe a few weeks more, and that's going to persist now. And it's going to be interesting to see how these tariffs actually start in the beginning of April. And volatility is clearly there. I think one of the reasons is also why we're looking at copper now more in detail and try to come up with a copper spread contract. I think the first initial discussions we've had with the industry is everybody says it sounds quite interesting. Obviously, they need to see the details. But so far, on nickel sulfate or lithium carbonate, we haven't even seen the effect of that yet. And if you consider that the majority of those products currently really stays in the Asian region, we're not going to see the full effect yet. But once you start building a supply chain, maybe also in Europe, in the United States, and then those intermediate products flow into those markets, I'm sure, you will also see those price differences on the back of tariffs reflected in the prices of the underlying product. So again, here, I think we're well positioned with having our regional contracts to take advantage of that and help the industry, to manage this risk as well.
And before I let you go, I know you've spent a good portion of your career as a metals trader, a nickel trader in particular. If you look out at the market with all the uncertainty, all the volatility, any advice you'd have for people who are in those seats now?
Listen, I hope, that people still know how to manage risk. At the end of the day, the way we've learned, or I've learned, part of my business is really political risk. And that's exactly what we have nowadays, with all these tariffs and the different trade blocs and political camps. And I think that's really something people have to understand. It's not just, the volatility is nice and everybody, I think at least the trading community cheers volatility, but to understand really and also in the medium longer term to try to understand those political risks and what implication it has on prices, on regional imbalances, and how they can take advantage of that. That's absolutely key. And I think a lot of the younger people maybe have not seen, these vicious moves. I think here again, maturity and people who have been in the industry for a long time maybe have a little bit of an advantage. So sometimes I think, it would be nice to be back. But then what we're doing is equally important and exciting.
Right. Just curious, any environment, this could be unprecedented, but any environment from your career that this reminds you a little bit of?
No, I mean, this is much more crazy than anything I've seen before. Maybe, but that was before my time. I started trading at the end of the 90s. I would say maybe at the beginning of the 90s, when Russia opened up and for a big chunk of like copper, aluminium, and all those big traded commodities, the floodgates were open. Maybe you can have some familiarities with that time, but unfortunately I haven't seen that. That's just anecdotal evidence I've heard when I started trading.
Right. Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, Sacha.
Pleasure
Great to sit down with you.
Thank you very much.